So this is The Wizards of the Waste. It's got this beautiful slipcover. Nice little fine detailing. Bats right there. This is a game about magical bargaining, and we'll get into that a little bit more in just a second. So The Wizards and the Waste is a magical bargaining game. You play as a spellcaster helping a town with their mundane problems, crafting spells using your favorite books, comics, albums, and movies as your arcane source. So that's pretty nifty. So first of all, I think Bats did a great job with the table of contents. I think it's so easy to see. Where everything is laid out. It's got a great hierarchy here of what you need, and it's not too hard to read or anything like that. So really good table of contents. I think it makes it easy to get right where you want. Good stuff. I feel good about it. Welcome. There are cities and villages, what we call civilizations. Then there are the wastes beyond, where the witches and wizards hide. Kings and queens lead armies of flying war machines against each other from the safety of their castles, bombing countrysides into ashy echoes. Soldiers with rifles and bayonets guide tanks down village streets ready for a war. This is the backdrop for the world, where spellcasters hone their craft, probe the wastes, and try to make a difference before the corruption creates monsters of them all. If you can't tell, this game is heavily inspired by Howl's Moving Castle. This is a game. It doesn't have a ton of art, but it has some really cool layout pages that we'll take a look at. I think one thing I want to talk about with this game is that the reading the rules is a delight, because it's not presented in your typical straightforward manual style. The writing has some soul, which is fun and interesting and an adventure in itself to read, as opposed to just reading another manual. It can get a bit, especially when I'm reading games really fast and trying to understand them really fast so that I can either learn something from it really fast or present it to someone or whatever I'm doing. It's really nice to open a book and actually be pulled through the text, because it's kind of got a lyrical writing compared to pushing myself through the text because I want to understand it. So we got our character creation. I did create a character with Chase the Ghosts the other night just to see how hard or difficult it was. And I mean, looking at the page, you should tell right away. It's not very hard to make a character. You don't even have to use these tables, but they're really fun. It's got some appearance prompts, some background prompts. I really like the magical origins. Those are really fun. We have kissed by a magical frog, caught a falling star, siphoned power from a city spirit. Just some good stuff. I like that there's a rival section, because I think rivals really help with fleshing out your own character, because you think about why you might have a rival. This is kind of what your character sheet could look like. So it's not a typical character sheet in the sense that you would photocopy this and then write in your details, right? I think it's more of a sense of this is what you need, less so use the specific thing. I think it's pretty simple. You can just type it up yourself. I always appreciate a character sheet, even if it's just presented in this format with examples of what goes where. I think it really helps me internalize the information that I need to have on hand when I play, instead of trying to figure out myself how to visually organize information. I think this is great. So this is the Arcane Oath. After you make your character, you say your oath, which I think is really fun. Always love a good oath. And then you can start casting spells. So how do you get spells? How do you create spells? So you go to the real world. You go to your real world, the one we're in right now, and you find a book, you find music, you find a graphic novel, let's see, you find poetry, you find something like that. And you decide, all right, this is what will be my focus of my spells. And then your character will get spells based on how you interact with that physical object in the real world. And I think that's so cool. And you make bargains. I'm not going to get into all of it. You will be crossing out spells, and your character will change as you cast magic, because you start with bonds, but as you play, you gain corruption and you lose those bonds you create. So if you have someone who's a good friend and that you love, and then you lose that bond, well, that's up to you what that means. All right, I'm seeing new people added to the giveaway. Fantastic. We're still operating. This is my second time running a giveaway, so we're making sure everything's working. So very cool. And then each object you choose, so if you chose a book, for example, you get a different page on how it works. And then you also get like a skill tree to move through and get new spells or discoveries or insights. Yeah, I've never seen a game come with a skill tree like this. I think that's really cool. Here's the graphic novel one. Music. Poetry. Yeah. Very cool stuff. And then there's some more rules about the corruption and bargaining and new spells. This sort of like defines the skill tree a little bit. This talks more about corruption. I love this passage. Corruption. The scene in Hell's moving castle. When Hell gives up his human form and becomes a hideous, sexy, giant bird creature and soars through the sky, tearing war machines apart with his giant claws. That's what corruption is. Perfect. No notes. I think it came out really, really nice, really beautiful, really good, subtle choices that really shine through. Like, just really cool stuff. So there's some example potions. Here's some monstrous forms you might turn into as you play. Spell sharing, so when you cast, I believe, with your party. Yeah. Anima, so these are machine artifacts that were lost long ago. Creating things, bonding, familiars, demons and favors. So fun. Spirits. Spirits of the Shadows. So lots of cool stuff. Let's see. Oh, that's a beautiful page. Oh, this talks about the war. And this helps you decide why war exists and what the war does. Some like tables there. I think that's really great. I love tables that help you figure things out. Like help you build a world. It doesn't have to be a lot of lore, right? Like this is how to create a shop. And I think there's some fun formatting happening here. Creating a village to fit the rule set. Some help with running the game. You have some problem tables here that range in difficulty, which is also good. More art that kind of goes with it, which is feels somewhat Ghibli style with the colors, which is fun. We got some monsters, and I think the monster stat blocks are very cool. So this is what a monster stat block looks like in this game. Also, check out this werewolf guy. So what I think is cool about these stat blocks is this is their health. The harm is their health. So essentially, as you're attacking them and whatnot, instead of getting rid of a hit point, you cross out one of their powers. So if you harm this werewolf, the facilitator will decide, all right, well, he can no longer frighten you. He can only cause bleeding and infections. So I think that is pretty neat. And it also has just some other items too. So this is true for all of these. That's how the monsters work. So this, for example, the dragon would be more powerful. It has 6 harm, so it has 6 powers. Just really cool stuff. I think that's such a cool way, really cool way to build a monster and then engage with it in the game. We've got some great table of names. And choose one of these with the D100 or just drop your finger down and Kimberly. We've got a Kimberly. Jobs. Rebel mages. Curses. The kingdom. And how to build the kingdom. The wastes. And it's just some more words and word tables. So yeah. And that is The Wizard of the Wastes. I think this game is really neat and unique, and one of the ways you engage with it is by going and grabbing like a book off the shelf and writing in that and crossing things out and circling words or phrases that stick out to you. That will come up in the next game we look at by Bats, which is called Dot Dungeon.